Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the ScruffyMovies Podcast. I'm Zach Wallace, and this episode's going to be just a little bit different than normal. We're going to be hearing from Zach Crocker just a little bit later, but we decided to kind of switch up the format a little bit this week. The holidays are really crazy, and we just really didn't have an hour to sit and record a podcast together, so we decided to change it up, keep a podcast coming out for you guys, but try and do something a little bit different. So basically, this episode is going to be about holiday movies, and we've got 3 base questions that we're going to answer. My segment will come first, then Crocker's will come later, and we're just going to answer those questions. Then we're going to try and guess and see what the other person answered as. And at the end of the episode, we'll see who got it right and who got it wrong, if any of us got anything right. I think I might get one right, but we'll have to see. But I hope you guys enjoy this episode. If you guys do enjoy this episode, we might do a couple more things like this in the future. Who knows? But we hope you guys enjoy, and let's get to the first segment of our holiday special, my segment, the most important. Okay, everyone, so this is how the segment's going to go. We have 3 questions that we're going to answer. So I'm going to answer mine, talk a little bit about why I've answered the way I've answered, and then I'm going to try and guess what Crocker's going to answer, which you guys are going to hear a little later on in the podcast. So the first question is, what was your favorite holiday movie when you were a kid? And I've got to be honest, it's one of my favorite holiday movies of all time, and I specifically don't watch it at any other time throughout the rest of the year because I know that I'm going to watch it a million times when Christmas rolls around, and that is A Christmas Story. And this movie is something that, we, when I was a kid, would race home from in-laws or relatives, wherever we were at, to make sure that we were home in time for that 8 p.m. turn-on of A Christmas Story at Christmas time. That's what Christmas was. Like, that's what started Christmas in my house when I was a kid. Like, you knew it was Christmas Day when A Christmas Story was on, and basically the whole family would gather around for that 24-hour marathon. We would all watch the first showing, and then throughout the rest of the showings for the 24-hour period, basically if nothing else was on, Christmas Story was on. My brother and I specifically used to wake up really early at like 3 or 4 a.m. to go downstairs and get our presents from Santa Claus. And I remember just turning the TV on, Christmas Story was on, my brother and I got our presents, and it was just a great time. My brother, I remember, also would always just fix us cheese eggs. And I tried to fix them one year because he didn't wake up. Yeah, he was becoming a teenager, so he was like, I'll get my presents when I get them. Dude, it's cool. But I was still a kid, so I was like, okay, well, if I make cheese eggs, he's going to come downstairs. So I tried to make eggs, and I'm glad I didn't know how to turn the stove on because it would not have turned out well. I think I poured about half the bottle of oil in the pan because the egg yolk I saw that he put in there I thought was cooking oil. So that would not have turned out well. I'm kind of glad I didn't know how to turn the stove on, but he ended up getting up, fixed us cheese eggs anyway, just a little bit later than normal, and we watched A Christmas Story. So that movie has always meant a lot to me, and it still does, really. Every Christmas Eve, I try and make it a priority to tune in, to make sure I'm there for it, to feel, it just feels like Christmas to me, and that's probably because it's become so ingrained in my family's Christmas traditions, and I'm glad that my wife now is able to carry on the tradition with me if we are at my house or we're not at my parents' house. And it's just a nice memory I have when I was a kid, just all of A Christmas Story wrapped up in my head. And probably, to be honest, A Christmas Story might be the movie, besides maybe The Goonies, that I've watched the most in my entire life. Because, I just watch, I know at least once a year I'm sitting down and watching it. And that can't really be said for any other movie. I don't guarantee a watch from any other movie that I can think of. There's movies that I like to watch every year and I watch quite often, but it's not guaranteed a spot like I know that A Christmas Story is. A Christmas Story will always be watched by me at least once throughout the year. So probably that might be the movie I've seen the most. All right, let me see. What would Crocker say his favorite movie as a kid was? I know Crocker's just a little bit older than me, but not by much. I don't know. I'm going to guess. Oh man, this is so hard. I think I have one of Crocker's answers. I think I've got one, but I do not know about these other two questions that we're going to answer. Oh man. I'm just gonna say I'm gonna take a wild stab at it because I have no idea, and I'm gonna say Tim Allen's The Santa Claus. I have no idea if that's right or not. I guess we'll see whenever I go to edit this episode and I see what Crocker had to say. I'm just gonna guess The Santa Claus. I feel like I remember hearing him quote a scene from The Santa Claus. And I think that maybe that's what's making me think that it's his favorite, but it might not be his favorite. He might just have been quoting the Santa Claus. So, I don't know. I'm guessing the Santa Claus with Tim Allen. Either way, that's also a terrific movie. And I'm sure one that probably Crocker's watched a lot. He probably enjoys that movie as well. But that's my guess for his. I don't know if it's right or not. It was just a wild stab in the dark. I have no idea. But hopefully it's right. I guess we'll see at the end of this podcast. Okay, so question 2 is, what is your favorite holiday movie now? And this one gave me kind of a run for my money because there are so many good holiday movies that I like to watch. And there's ones being added every year. Now, more recently, we always try and watch A Very Harold and Kumar Christmas. The Night Before, which is an amazing movie. If you guys haven't seen that one out there, Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt Christmas comedy. It is fantastic. We always try and watch that one. The newest one, Office Christmas Party. We always try and sneak in there. But honestly, and it's kind of going back to childhood again, but it's just one that it just is so funny because when I was a kid, I didn't necessarily watch it for its Christmas values, but now that I've gotten older, I appreciate the movie and I appreciate its take on Christmas, and that would have to be Home Alone. That's just a movie I can watch infinitely. I mean, I own all of the movies, and they even spread them out where they're not. I think only the third one might not be at Christmas. I'm trying to remember if it is or not. Because I'm pretty sure, 2 is at Christmas, 4 is at Christmas, 5 is at Christmas. And that's another thing. There are 5 Home Alone movies. I mean, who would have thought that when that first Home Alone movie came out, it would spawn a franchise of 5 movies? But I do have to admit, as much as I love Home Alone, and I do love Home Alone, it's my favorite holiday movie now. But I think out of the entire Home Alone franchise, I think Home Alone 2 might take the cake. That's just the one I watched the most when I was a kid. It has so much memorable lines, and God, did I want to visit Duncan's toy store when I was a kid. I wanted some of that slime. I wanted everything. I had a Walkman, or not a Walkman. What was it that Kevin used? A Talk Boy? Something like that, where he recorded his voice. I had one of those. I mean, there's just a million things that Home Alone 2 did that Home Alone 1 didn't. And that's not disparaging against Home Alone 1 because, like I said, I love Home Alone 1. But I think Home Alone 2 might take the cake of Home Alone franchise for me. But Home Alone, the first one, is definitely my favorite holiday movie now. It is a priority along with A Christmas Story that I try and make time to watch it. And it's such a priority that I'll even getting into the Christmas spirit, but I know it's not really Christmas time yet. That's when you start watching the Home Alone sequels. You start watching Home Alone 4 and Home Alone 5 just to kind of satiate that crave you have for holiday content. And also, I'm sorry if you guys hear any other breathing or noises. I'm recording this in my living room, and my dog is running around and just having a great time. So if you guys hear anything in the background, that's most likely him. But Home Alone is just one of those movies where every time I watch it, it puts me in the Christmas spirit. And it didn't used to be that way. I used to be able to watch Home Alone. I mean, I remember watching it like over summertime, like all kinds of stuff. I would watch Home Alone, but just maybe in the last like 10 years or so, it's just really taken on like a new life of its own in my head, and it's just become this gigantic like Christmas movie to me, and I love it. I love Macaulay Culkin. I love Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci specifically. I love Marv and Harry. They play great roles in that movie. Like, there's just so much good stuff in Home Alone that reminds me of like childhood Christmas. And that's probably why it's my favorite movie now. Now, for Crockers, this is probably going to be another stab in the dark because I really don't know. I'm going to guess for him, because he seems like this might be his favorite, is Christmas Vacation. Now, that's another fantastic Christmas movie, another great holiday movie I always try and watch, but I think Crocker might love Christmas Vacation. I don't know if he's ever even seen it. I'm just taking a stab in the dark based off of his personality, but I think Christmas Vacation is the one he might say. And that is another great movie. And if you guys didn't know, I love telling people that it exists because people don't really know that it exists. There in, I believe, 2002 or 3 maybe, I think 2003, ABC premiered a sequel to Christmas Vacation called Christmas Vacation 2: Cousin Eddie's Island Adventure. And Randy Quaid comes back and plays Cousin Eddie. His wife comes back, and they get stuck on an island basically at Christmas time. It is not a good movie. And I mean, but it's funny because the one thing I would have said watching all those vacation movies is like, wow, man, that Cousin Eddie, he's too funny. He's got to get his own movie. But apparently that was its downfall. He needs the straight man of Clark Griswold to play off of. Otherwise, it just comes off as kind of annoying or just not as funny if he doesn't have like a straight man to play off of. And so I love telling people that movie exists. If you guys haven't seen it, I do recommend you watch it. It is not a good movie, but sometimes it's fun to just put on a movie, switch your brain off, and just be like, all right, let's see what you can do. If you're good, you're good. If you're bad, you're bad. Whatever. I just want to watch something, or just like put it on in the background. You know, it's kind of a Home Alone 5 type movie, just like something that kind of gets you in the Christmas spirit without it really being Christmas yet. Just put that on, flip it on. Leave it, clean your house, wrap presents, whatever you want to do, and it'll kind of get you in the Christmas spirit without taking any of those heavy hitters like the original Christmas Vacation, Home Alone, Santa Claus, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, that you want to save for actual Christmas time. So the third and final question of this segment is, what is your favorite non-Christmas Christmas movie? And this I was talking to Crocker about, and I meant something like basically Christmas is happening, but the movie doesn't necessarily call attention to that fact. The movie could exist without Christmas being in it, but looking back on it, Christmas seems to play an important part. And it's not even necessarily anything to do with Christmas. It's just like you see Christmas trees in the background, you see Christmas decorations up. People are there for Christmas when something happens that's outside of the realm of the holidays. And this is the only one that I think I know what Crocker's answer is. But first, my answer, and it's a weird one, but it's going to make some people hate me, but I don't want to answer what Crocker's answer is because that probably would have been my answer. I'm going to say my favorite non-Christmas Christmas movie is Iron Man 3. Now, I know I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for that, but Iron Man 3 I love Iron Man 3. I know people had problems with it, but I love Iron Man 3. And specifically like the giant Christmas tree at Tony's house, when he's hanging out with that little kid in the town and it's all snowy and they're fighting people in bars and restaurants and stuff like that, and they have all the Christmas decorations up. It's just something that becomes ingrained with the movie without necessarily being a part of it. And that's all to do with the writer and director of that movie, Shane Black, who that's like one of his director staples is non-Christmas Christmas movies. He also made Lethal Weapon and The Nice Guys, and all those take place at Christmas as well. And now, for what my answer probably would have been, but I am like 95% sure it's going to be Crocker's, and that is like one of the most famous non-Christmas Christmas movies of all time, and that's Die Hard. The original Die Hard with Alan Rickman and Bruce Willis. And that movie has been argued time and time and time again about whether or not it is a Christmas movie. But I am firmly stated in the fact it is a Christmas movie. Now, it's not a movie you have to watch at Christmas. You can watch it any time of the year you'd like. But if you watch it at Christmas, because of all these little things that your brain has been tuned into, Christmas decorations and whatever, I mean, John, there would be no Die Hard if it wasn't for Christmas. The only reason John McClane came to the Nakatomi Plaza was to meet up with his wife for Christmas. Like, that was the reason. If there was no Christmas, there's no Die Hard. If there's no Die Hard, there's no Die Hard 2, Die Harder. There's no Die Hard with a Vengeance. There's no Live Free or Die Hard. There's no A Good Day to Die Hard. And there's not another Die Hard movie right now, but I'm sure they'll probably make one. But there would be no Die Hard franchise without the beginnings of Christmas. That was the entire catalyst for the plot of that movie. So if you are saying that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, is the same thing as saying like the sky is not royal blue or something. And I mean, it's not really royal blue, but if somebody says it is, they're not entirely wrong, because it could have been royal blue the day they looked at it, you know? Like it's not entirely wrong to say Die Hard is a Christmas movie, because it is in many aspects. And I think that that's going to be Crocker's answer 100%. I think that Crocker is going to answer Die Hard. That's the only one I think I know. And I told him this before we separated to record these. I told him, I was like, of the 3 questions I sent you, I'm almost positive I know one of them. The other 2 are going to be stabs in the dark. And they definitely were. I don't know if the other 2 are correct or not. I took my best guess, knowing Crocker's personality and age and maybe like how things affected him. I don't know at all if those are going to be his answers. His answer for number 1 could be Home Alone. It could be something totally different that I wasn't expecting. But I think I have at least this one right. So, with that being said, quick rundown of some holiday movie recommendations for you guys. These are movies that I like to try and watch every year. I've mentioned a few of them in this podcast. A few of them I haven't mentioned. But I always try and add these to the list of movies to watch. First off, like I said, I always try and watch A Christmas Story. Love A Christmas Story. Got to make it a priority. I got to watch Home Alone. I got to watch The Santa Claus, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the Jim Carrey one. Let's see, what else? Oh, I love to watch Silent Night, Deadly Night, any of the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies, and there are 5 of them and a remake. So if you guys are into Christmas horror movies, highly suggest the Silent Night movies. Speaking of Christmas horror movies, I absolutely love Black Christmas and the remake Black Xmas, which is just Black Christmas but updated. I love both of those. Always got to watch those. Got to watch Very Harold and Kumar Christmas. Got to watch. There's another one with Bill Goldberg playing Santa called Santa's Sleigh, and that is a great one. But there's just a million of them that, you know, if you sit down and make a list, there's no way you'd probably get through them all. You just got to watch them as you feel them. And that's a great thing about the Christmas season, the holiday season in general, is it just feels like there's a higher like emotional feeling in the air. Everyone's in a happier mood, and it's just great to sit down with your family. It's cold outside, but it's warm in your house, and put on those movies and just enjoy your holiday season. So I hope you guys enjoyed this segment. And now I will hand it off to Crocker, who's going to start his segment. And then I will see you real quick again at the end to wrap everything up. I hope you guys enjoyed it and have a happy holiday season.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the second half of this week's ScruffyMovies Podcast. My name is John Crocker. If all has gone to plan, you have just listened to the first half of the podcast that Zach has done, and he has gone through a few questions and answered those with you all. So we are about to dive into the second half here, also known as the Crocker Christmas Extravaganza here at Scruffy Movies, where we're going to dive into some of our favorite holiday films of all time. I'm very curious to know exactly what Zach has put down as his favorite holiday movies. Just to reiterate here, we will be talking about our favorite holiday movies as a kid, our favorite holiday movies now, and then, of course, our favorite non-Christmas Christmas movies, or as I like to call them, Christmas adjacent. So we'll just dive right in here and get going. So, favorite holiday movie as a kid. I'm going to have to say Elf. And I'm not sure exactly when that movie came out. It was a Will Ferrell movie, so it couldn't have been really, really early, probably not the 90s. It's got to be early 2000s or so. So I wasn't super young when that movie came out, but it was definitely my favorite childlike, I guess, more kid-themed holiday movie, Christmas movie of all time there. Elf is just an absolute classic. It was Will Ferrell when he was in his prime, back when absolutely nobody could touch him. And, I mean, the comedy is just, turned up to 11. It is so, so hilarious. And certainly a gold standard for holiday kids movies now, I would say. When I was really young, I don't think I had many favorite Christmas movies or holiday movies because my parents always watched the classic ones, White Christmas and A Christmas Story. And I was never a huge fan of sort of the more serious Christmas drama, back in those days. So at the time when this movie came out, it really was a welcome break. And, I think that's actually a good segue into my favorite Christmas movie now, which was also one of my favorites growing up as well. And that is of course, National Lampoon Christmas Vacation. That movie with Chevy Chase, with the uncle and the whole family, you can't beat it. It really is at the top of the list as far as Christmas movies go in my mind. It, like all of the National Lampoon movies, really do sort of set that standard and hit that bar as far as comedy in general. And then it just so happens to be wrapped up in a holiday theme with that particular National Lampoon iteration with Christmas Vacation there. I think my favorite scene of the entire movie is when they grease up the sleds and fly from what is seemingly a small little sled hill, like all the way across the city. I don't know why that always locked into my brain. And then you've got the scene where the cigar lights the sewer and everything blows up and the neighbors that are blinded with the Christmas lights. Christmas Vacation really is, it has to be one of the best holiday movies, Christmas movies of all time. I will say that with complete confidence. Now, favorite Christmas adjacent movies. These are non-Christmas Christmas movies. This is a category that I actually had a much harder time with than I thought I would. I, for some reason, was thinking there was this huge list of Christmas adjacent movies that, you hear everyone talk about because everyone always brings up Die Hard and Iron Man 3. And from there, you sort of think the list just goes on and on and on, which it does, but not really with movies that I like and that I watched a lot of. So, without further ado, my favorite Christmas adjacent movie has got to be Batman Returns. And this is one that I had totally forgotten was sort of set around that time of year. I actually, in doing a bit of research before this episode today, came across that and was like, oh, it totally was. And that's absolutely, it has to be my favorite one on the list. That movie in general, I think, is one of the more underrated Batman movies of our time. It was a weird, really, Tim Burton-ish is really the only way to say it, and I believe Tim Burton actually is the one who had a major hand in that movie. But it is very like Nightmare Before Christmas-esque in sort of the darkness and the characters. And for those of you who don't know, this was the Penguin and Catwoman Batman. Came out in the 90s. Michael Keaton, of course, Danny DeVito, Michelle Pfeiffer. One of the, again, I think most underrated Batman movies, even of the Keaton movies. Everyone always thinks of, Robin and the Ice Guy, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Poison, and all of those. The original Bane, the ugly Bane, but no one really ever remembers Batman Returns and never gives it, I don't think at least, the credit that it deserves. All right, so that sort of goes over my list of favorite movies. Just to recap here, favorite movie as a kid, Elf, for sure, Will Ferrell. Favorite movie now, and really as a kid as well, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And then favorite non-Christmas Christmas movie has got to be Batman Returns. So, Zach, what are your 3 favorite Christmas movies or on this list, I should say? I'm going to dive in here and just guess that your favorite movie as a kid was Home Alone. I'm not sure which one, probably the first 2, because you've mentioned many times that back in those days, back when you were coming up, you really weren't into like hardcore dramas and, heart-wrenching, tear-jerking stories, and same for me. So I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say Home Alone because all of the other ones really, I think, were a bit too serious for you at the time. And heck, you may even say Elf too, and we actually be the same on this one. So that's my guess for you there. Home Alone is, of course, another brilliant comedy. I think that kid, Macaulay Culkin, could take on anybody and anything given enough time to prepare and enough paint cans and rope and duct tape. I think that, Zach, your favorite Christmas movie now, since your tastes have changed, and I know that you're very much one of those guys that at the season, each and every year you go through and watch a lot of the classics, especially with Halloween stuff, and I would imagine nothing has changed going into the Christmas season. So I'm going to say that A Christmas Story is your favorite now as an adult. Better not shoot your eye out. Red Ryder is, of course, the movie that we're talking about here. And actually, side note, I've gotten a Red Ryder for Christmas when I was like 6 or 8 years old, and I still have both of my eyes. So it is possible to own a Red Ryder, a Daisy Red Ryder, and not shoot your eye out. But I would say that you have probably grown to appreciate that movie more with your age, same as I have. However, for me personally, probably still not at the top of the list, but I know that it is such a classic. It probably holds a special place in your collection. So I would wage that you watch it every year. Whether or not it's your favorite, I'm not sure. We'll find out after this goes live. All right, so that brings us down to your favorite non-Christmas Christmas movie, your favorite Christmas adjacent movie. This is a hard one, and really I'm just taking a wild guess right here. But I would say that I bet it's Iron Man 3. Just because of the sheer level of Marvel fandom that you have, I'm going to give it to Iron Man 3. I think that that's probably the one at the top of your list. Just because I don't think either one of us wanted to say Die Hard. I think Die Hard is instantly the movie that everybody thinks of when they think of Christmas adjacent, Christmas movies. And I am a big fan of Die Hard, but I certainly think that for me personally, Batman Returns is more of a favorite movie than Die Hard is. And I would say that for you, I would wager that Iron Man 3 is probably a bit higher on the totem pole than, of course, Die Hard is. So after going through all of that, I guess it's worth some honorable mentions as well. And I would say that going into the Christmas season, out of all the movies we've mentioned here, I'll probably watch all of the movies that we've mentioned here. But out of all the ones that we haven't, I would like to remind you that there are some other ones that are worth watching. For example, The Santa Claus. Yeah, Tim Allen. When's the last time you watched that? That one almost made my list because I actually watched that on repeat as a child. Looking back, probably not in the top tier of favorite movies of all time by any means at all, much less, fitting on favorite Christmas lists or anything like that. But The Santa Claus is definitely worth watching, and certainly one that I had on repeat growing up. It's not a bad movie at all. If anything, I think I just wore it out. Also keep in mind that with all of these wholesome Christmas movies that we've been talking about so far, it's hard to forget Bad Santa. Now, Bad Santa actually didn't come out until the mid-2000s as well. So that was another one that wasn't necessarily around when we were kids, thankfully, because my parents would have certainly never let me watch it if it came out back when they were still controlling what I watched. But that is a great Christmas movie and certainly worth checking out if you've never seen it. Charlie Brown Christmas special, you see that on Christmas or on TV every single Christmas. I think that everybody owes it to themselves to watch the Charlie Brown Christmas and the Muppet Christmas if you haven't seen either one of those in a long time. They are definitely good to sort of go back through. Now, one that I had down, and actually something that I considered, Zach, for your favorite Christmas adjacent movie would be Gremlins. Just because I know that you are hardcore in the sort of horror thriller rabbit hole, and Gremlins certainly fits that bill, and it is around the Christmas season. So I certainly thought, at least for a little while, that one may be your favorite non-Christmas Christmas movie. Also, we have Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, which is, I thought that was more of a Thanksgiving movie and not so much of a Christmas movie. I thought they were trying to make it home for Thanksgiving. But John Candy, Steve Martin, one of the all-time classics. In fact, I would say it rivals National Lampoon Christmas Vacation for one of my favorite Christmas movies or holiday movies now. And now I haven't seen it in a very, very long time, but it is certainly going down. As I say this, I'm writing it on my list at the moment to go back and rewatch, because as I think about it, I had classified that as more of a holiday Thanksgiving movie and not necessarily a Christmas movie, but now I want to know because I remember it being awesome. I just need to actually go back and watch it. And there's also one that I haven't seen that I would like to see. And again, we're sort of kicking this over to, a very comedic movie, but The Night Before, which is a Seth Rogen movie. I would really like to check that out. I haven't seen it yet, and it will certainly be at the top of my watch list going into this holiday season. And I believe that pretty much wraps it up. We've gone through my favorite holiday movies. We've gone through what I think and hope are going to be your favorite holiday movies, Zach. I'm not entirely sure how well I've hit the nail on the head here. I'm excited to see what your guesses are for me. I hope everyone out there in the interwebs have enjoyed this slightly weird setup this week where the half and half, and of course, this is all due to the holidays and travel and our schedules just not lining up. But we did want to get an episode out for you guys so that we did not miss our regular schedule. And with all that said, I would like to remind you all to follow us on Instagram at ScruffyMovies and Crockalicious, and we will catch you all in the next one. Bye!
All right, everybody, and that was Crocker's segment, I should say. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Sorry again that the format was a little off, but hopefully it didn't throw you guys off too much. It was kind of fun trying to guess some of his answers. I'm actually kind of excited to see what he said. As I'm recording this, I still haven't heard them, so I don't know what he said. I don't know if I got any of my answers right. I don't know if he got any of his answers right. Hopefully we got at least one right for each other. Otherwise, why are we hosting a movie podcast together? But either way, we will be back next week. We have a little break in between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So we'll be back next week. We'll be in the same room again recording. And we hope you guys will tune in. Thank you for tuning in this week. We hope you guys enjoyed and have a great holiday season. I know I already ended my segment with that, but I'm going to end it again with another one. Have a happy holiday season because I love you guys. And thank you for listening to the Scruffy Movies Podcast. We will see you all next week. And I guess I'll either edit Crocker in here or I'll just do mine. Bye! God, it's not as good as Crocker's. Follow us on Instagram. Oh, I forgot. I forget every time. And he wasn't even here to remind me, and I still forgot. All right. Bye, guys.